And that's comrades, this is Chief
of
Guard of the
alcohol. This
Republic
book
Radio
contains
Show with your
facts about the
co-hosts
case
Mike
from the
Tuman
date
and
of the
Paul
arrest
Burbitt
up to the
every
jury's
Saturday
verdict.
noon
And
until
this
2
nonfiction
on
novel
AM
also
1410
includes the
WRMN
transcripts
Elgin.
from the jury
Or
trial
you can stream
itself.
us
The book
live
DUI Jury
on
Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
YouTube channel. Go to WRMN1410.com to stream us, to use the radio app to stream us there, or a link to the YouTube channel. You can call us here at our studio number Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burbitt every Saturday noon until 2. You can text us in on the 1410 WRMN Elgin text number 505-926-1410. Hey Paul, how you doing? The WRMN.
Good, how are you, Mike?
I'm okay. YouTube channel. I'm a little upset that after 27 years I was called a leper. Stream us, to use the radio app to stream us there, or a link to the YouTube channel.
By who?
You can call us here at our studio number of 847-931-1410. Brandon Johnson. Or you could call, you could text us in on the Magic New Mexico text number 505-926-1410.
I don't want to say too much.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm okay. I'm a little upset that after 27 years I was called a leper. I don't know what denomination he is or what church he goes to or whatever he proclaims. One of Elgin's, obviously the dude never heard the Beatitudes. Brandon Johnson.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Because if you're not, if people out there aren't familiar, this is a Veterans Radio shout-out show. But we talk about,
teaching
as the commercial said, all things national defense, personal defense. And dealing with law enforcement situations, or what my bona fides church he goes to, I was 27 years as a Chicago police detective. Obviously, and I did 38 years in the Army Reserve with multiple deployments as a military intelligence and psychological operations professional. If people out there aren't familiar, this is a Veterans Radio shout-out show. But we talk about,
I also trained,
as the commercial said, all things national defense, personal defense, and dealing with law enforcement situations.
I can teach them about
and my bona fides here is that I was 27 years as a Chicago police detective, and I did 38 years in the Army Reserve with multiple deployments as a military intelligence and psychological operations professional. And Paul, you were a prosecutor.
And I think, again, I think it's really sad. I also trained when we elevate I'm a licensed what we would call activist or community organizer police academies to positions where they have to teach them about murder, in charge of investigations, and just not a specific AR-15 rifles and all of that.
Our governor,
I'm also licensed to teach by the state of Illinois.
Standing
police academy
in front of a community organizer 2 days before he murders someone.
Deep interest in law enforcement, and I think, again, I think it's really sad, when we elevate what we would call activist or community organizers. This goes both to positions where they have to that are quite conservative in their law firms. Everyone, just not a specific group. They're the first ones to tell you. They're not in for
governor of our state,
that murder accountability thing
in front of a community organizer 2 days before he murders someone.
If you're in any way participating in the underlying felony, it's sad. You're just as responsible for the mold that drives into the guy. And you know what I feel bad for? Because I have some friends that are quite conservative in their law firms, minding his own business. They're the first ones to tell you of the prior state's attorneys, that murder reducing the thing, except saying you needed 10,000 or whatever. If you're to prosecute people in participating in the underlying things like that, you're just as responsible for the mold that drives into the guy. But they enable people. And you know what I feel bad for? That poor man was going home to his family. That's ridiculous. Minding his own business. I blame the whole system there. Of the prior state's people for running reducing they're saying you needed 10,000 or whatever.
Going back to Matthew chapter 5
to prosecute people for
I'm not a preacher. I'm not a priest. I'm not a sworn minister or anything. Evangelist,
and they just enable the poor man to his grave. And that's ridiculous.
I've read the Bible. I can't say I've understood everything, but I do understand the Beatitudes.
I blame these people for running on that platform.
He's speaking to the crowds about everyone. Going back to Matthew chapter 5 aren't bad things. Again, I'm not a preacher. I'm not a kingdom of heaven. I'm not blessed are the minister or anything. Evangelists should be your inheritance. Evangelists are those who mourn. They should be comforted. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. I can't say I've understood everything, but I do understand the Beatitude. Who hungers and thirsts for righteousness? I mean, why do you become the police? He's speaking to the crowds about, everyone. There is, there are the things that he's saying, a few elements things out there. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Every kingdom of heaven is yours. I think every profession has them, no matter what. There should be your inheritance. Blessed are those who mourn. Petty, they should be comforted in their jobs. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. They shall have their fill. To deal with their who hungers and thirsts for right power. Why do you become the police? Nuts with it, right? A petty tyrant. There is so. That's one reason people say, "Oh, well, we got these out there cops. They're petty tyrants," and that's like 1 in 10,000. I think every profession which has is better than no matter what. Politicians, where people become petty tyrant, politician. Tyrants, 1 in 2 in their jobs. Petty tyrants. They're just like 9 and 10. Terrible to deal with. They have a little bit of power and they just go nuts. And one gets in there because he's trying to do good, or one gets in there because that's one reason he likes to say, "Oh, pay and the benefits and everything." Bad cops, they're petty tyrants. It's like that's like 1 in 10,000. Quote, which is better than see me on YouTube. Politicians, which is like a petty tyrant politician of the homeowners association. 1 in 2. I've had friends that been not had condos and they talk, but they've been 9 to 10 to being like the president of the homeowner association, and they get out as quick as they can. One gets in there because he's trying to do good, or one gets in there because stick their nose into everyone's pay and the benefits and everything. Want them to live by their personal standards. Their personal standards. Quote. If you see me on YouTube in law enforcement, quote, but Karens of the homeowners association. Let me ask you: does the police officer on the street, had condos and they talk, but they've been talked into being like the president of homeowner association? No, and they get out as quick as they can. They say it's unbelievable. The only involvement the police officer on the street has everyone making laws is his and want them to live by their personal standards, the representatives. And let's just but that happens in law enforcement, the state laws. Does just our state? Paul, let me ask you, because that's what the police officer on the street, police officers of the city of Chicago enforce the laws. 720 and 625 ILCS, Illinois combined compiled statutes. The only involvement other police officer on the street they also making laws enforce, but the big ones are 720 and 625. And he votes for 625 being the traffic code. And let's just keep it with the state laws. They vote just for their state representative or their state senator. Right. That's what puts these laws. Police officers of the city of Chicago like the bill. They put it up in a bill. 720 and 625 ILCS. If it passes and the governor signs it, it becomes statutes. Although there's other statutes out there that they also enforce, but the big ones are 720 and put it on the books. 625 being the traffic code.
Well, they have to enforce it.
Right? Yeah, because a law that isn't enforced is what? For their state representative or their state senator, right? Who puts these laws poetry up.
Yeah, there's some
like the bill. They put it up in a bill. It gets voted up in the legislature. If it passes and the governor signs it, it becomes a law. You think when they went from Chapter 38 what are the police 720, 625, and all that stuff, that they would have shaken out those laws and put it on the books. Hey, let's do a mass repeal of archaic laws that no longer apply. A law that isn't enforced is what?
It's not I think they're lazy, right? It's a, it's just, I learned real quickly about a lot of things. There's some laws on the books for, he was in 90 years that they've never enforced, and he was doing a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, and you think when they went from Chapter 38 to 720, 625 and all that stuff, I found out that he was married to 2 women at the same time. Okay. But let's do a mass repeal of archaic laws that no longer apply. Being the diligent young guy I was
but
trying
I think they're lazy, right?
I was trying to charge him with everything I could, which was theft, securities fraud. There was a guy. He was an insurance broker. I want to do bigamy, and he was doing a Ponzi scheme. And I got pulled in by the top honcho in the investigation. I found out that he was married to 2 women at the same time. What are you doing here? And I go, well, and he took he's married to 2 people at the same time. And so, you know, he took the second diligent young guy I was trying to, and they go, no, we're not charge him with everything. And I go, what do you mean? And he goes, theft, securities, fraud. The next thing you know, he says to me, I want to do bigamy. You'll be wanting to charge people with adultery. And I said, well, you know, that's a crime too. Maybe we should start. Elected official. It was over with, and what are you doing? Took that one away. I go, well, so you know, he's married to 2 people at the same time, but there are laws that were on there for a reason, and you know, they thought it must have been a reason. We're not doing that. And I go, what do you mean? People, goes, you know, probably 118 the next thing you know, he says to me, thought it was something to put in the law. You'll be wanting to charge people with adultery. And I said, well, sometimes, you know.
Yeah, so the same thing you're saying there. The detective at Area 3, Special Victims Unit, we handle domestic stuff. And bigamy is one of the cases we handle, right? And one of the detectives actually drew up the bigamy case. And they thought it must have been a reason because put on the complaining witness, which was probably the 118 wife, right? At the time, thought and it was something to put in the law. Was complaining witness we just this, right? Don't enforce them sometimes, you know. So the same thing you're saying there. Gather all this evidence at Area 3 Special Victims Unit. We handle domestic stuff. What he needed for a prosecution is one of the cases. And she goes out and she gets everything. She comes in. Actually, he calls the state for felony approval, and they said no. Put on the complaining witness, which was the second wife, right? Maybe sometimes on some of these first or second, one of the cases was complaining witness on this, right? Laws that you don't see enforced so much, but getting back to it, so the police officers out there, evidence that he needed. He looked at the Constitution of the state of Illinois, prosecution and everything. The Constitution is the ultimate she gets everything. She comes in. He calls the state for felony approval, and they said no. Without the Constitution, there are no other laws. Absolutely not. And so he is sworn. Maybe sometimes on some of these older cases, the laws, older. Laws that you don't see enforced so much, but people back to take so the police officers out there, and he's sworn to uphold the Constitution of the state of Illinois. And the Constitution is the ultimate wanting to enforce the state of Illinois, even though they make you all the other laws fall under it. You're a sworn officer. Without the Constitution, there are no other laws. And the mayor is now saying, the mayor who employs you the Constitution, that to swear to enforce the laws is a disease. And well, then, apparently, that's a disease I want to take that job. So we got a caller. That is now a disease. Hey, how you doing? Jan Deere here with the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show. Disease wanting to enforce the laws, even though they make you swear to it.
Hello?
You're a sworn officer. You swear to enforce those laws. Hey, how you doing, John? And the mayor is now saying, the mayor who employs you is saying that to swear to enforce the laws our guys out there at the Dunkin' Donuts Veterans, which meets every Tuesday, 9 o'clock. During the summer and good weather, we meet at the Bunker Hill Woods. And then during hey, how you doing that weather when it's colder, with the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show. Dunkin' Donuts on Dempster, 7137 on Dempster, or 39. It's hey, Niles. How you doing, John? So, John, what's on your mind today?
I finally made it.
Yep.
I was looking for
John's one of our guys out there at the Dunkin' Donuts Veterans, which meets every Tuesday, 9 o'clock. During the summer and good weather, we meet at the Bunker Hill Woods. And then during inclement weather, when it's colder out, we meet at the Dunkin' Donuts on Dempster, 7137 on Dempster, or 39. It's in Niles. So what John, asking about benefits? What's on your mind today? John, I'm not a qualified veteran service officer, but I know a little bit about things.
Your previous story, I asked story, but I'm getting into the benefits. It was very interesting situation. It really brings a lot to mind, and I should have been in 30 years ago. What you guys were talking about, the way they ran things then.
Thank you.
I didn't want any part of it. And
so what were you asking about benefits? Because John, I'm not a qualified veteran service officer, but I know a little bit about things.
After I've been horsed around, I just took me a week to get benefits. Statute or situation at a late time, and then I should have been in 30 years ago, but Seattle, because of the way they ran things then, back to Seattle, I didn't want any fines, and when I got the fines, I finally needed hearing aids. So, and I got a hold of a friend of mine, Chris O'Donnell, or he was giving it, and he said, after I've been horsed around, this retired Marine took me a week to get big from the VA. Rolling Meadows to harassment, Milwaukee, and then you need something done, he gets it done.
Yeah, he works up at Lowell, and I don't mean he works up there. That's where he goes most of the time.
Right. So, and what he did was a friend of mine. I got a hold of him on a Wednesday, and now we're talking, and he said, I've got this went on Thursday for an interview at Lovell. He's big with the following Tuesday, I had hearing aids.
Yes.
Harassment.
Nice.
Chris O'Donnell.
Yes, very nice. I'm glad to hear that, John. Yeah, I'm sure you're glad to hear that, too. He works up at Lowell, and I don't mean he works up there. That's where he goes most of the time. Thanks for calling in, John.
Right. And what he did was,
Paul.
I got a hold of him on a
Wednesday. We read you 5 by 5 now.
5 by 5.
Thursday for an interview at
I don't even know what 5 by 5 means.
I had hearing aids.
All angles.
Nice.
Hey. It's all even.
Very nice. I'm glad to hear that, John.
Yep.
I'm sure you're glad to hear that too.
Thanks for listening. I'll try you again when something else comes up.
Thanks for calling in. Thank you, John. See you Tuesday. I'll see you Tuesday.
He reads you 5 by 5 now.
Yeah. So 5 by 5. Here's the thing. I don't even know what 5 by 5 means. Really had any intestinal fortitude. All even. And he stood by his word. Yep. Hey, now he swore the same oath. So
I'll try you again when
by swearing that oath, he is. Thank you, John. Implied in being diseased. I'll see you Tuesday. All right.
I'll be there.
So he should resign. So because he swore the same oath that all the police officers swore. Brandon Johnson. And then they should resign all the police officers and put them on full disability on the city. And they should hire. And he stood by his word. Now he swore the same oath. Social workers or someone, and not make them swear that oath to enforce the laws of the Constitution of the state of Illinois, also, right? To protect and defend the Constitution of the state of Illinois, right? They shouldn't make him swear the same oath that all the police officers. They should just hire him sight unseen, no checks or anything. Because if they don't make that, if they don't swear that all the police officers and put them on full disability on the city, and they could pay them. They should hire until all the police officers, social workers, or someone, and put on full disability. Them swear the oath, right? To enforce the laws away, they're going to have to, of the Constitution of the state of Illinois, as much to protect and defend the Constitution of the state of Illinois. You shouldn't give them any training. They shouldn't make them swear to that. The training, they should just hire them sight at the academy, check something, because if they don't make that, if they don't swear that oth, right, Paul? Then they're not diseased.
Right.
And they could pay them.
And
until
another
all
thing
the
is,
police officers
there's some
resigned and put on full disability,
because
right?
It must be gained
away, they're going to have to
occupationally.
Pay twice as much to get full disability. And these new people, you shouldn't give them any training because obviously, the training given at the academy was something that didn't cure my disease. A few words he memorized when he went to teacher school.
I don't even think he memorized anything. I think that there's some of the people from the OSHA thing, because web types it must be gained are given a bullet points, because I don't think the guy's smart enough to even memorize something. And they're violating OSHA requirements and everything like that. Smart enough to even be a teacher. Because you're right. I remember seeing an article.
He didn't last long as a teacher. A few got into the union. He memorized when he went to teacher school.
He always said he never failed anybody. I don't think he memorized anything. I think the teacher wasn't important to teach anybody. He said something to that effect. So if it's not important to teach anyone, because I don't think the guy's smart enough to even expect you were going to get when he became the mayor. I'm even surprised he was smart enough to even be a teacher, because I remember seeing it.
He didn't last long as a teacher. He got into the union. Estate.
Yeah, he
questioned him when he
said
made
he
that,
never failed anybody. He didn't care if they passed. It wasn't important. As a teacher, it wasn't important to teach anybody. He said something to that effect.
And you have
so
cures
if it's
for the
not
diseases,
important
right?
to teach anyone, and you're a teacher,
what the cure would
what did you expect you were going to get when he became the mayor?
So has any one of our mainstream politicians, legacy media,
just a targeted treatment, maybe
estate,
recalling him or putting pressure on him, or
when he made
getting
that
a recall vote
disease
going
comment,
on, passing a law to recall him because
you have diseases and you have cures for the diseases.
He's ineffective.
I can tell you what
he's clearly he doesn't have the targeted treatment. Removing him.
Remove credibility. He has no credibility.
He doesn't have the interest. Just the targeted treatment, subjects, or the people that put him in office, or putting pressure on him. He's getting a recall vote going on, or passing a law to recall him because.
Well, I'm sure he's hearing it, right? And he's heard it. That they're really.
He's
there's been city council meetings.
He's clearly
they've come up and they've been really upset because
the
credibility. He has social services.
He doesn't have the interest of
that
his
have been created
subjects
and put aside
the
to
people that
service
put him in office
the social economically deprived areas of the city. Right?
It's a dereliction of duty
redirected
on his part.
or canceled out. Well, I'm sure he's another way, right? And he's heard it that they're really illegal aliens. There's been city council meetings where, where they've come up and they've been really upset, right? Because they were mad because their social services, the benefits that they had gotten used to, had been created and put aside to service suddenly the social economically deprived areas of the city, right? They see this, it's like redirected, you used to be the favorite child, and now you're no longer the favorite child. There's a new favorite child for illegal aliens because we're a ganging sanctuary city and the guy in charge, right? So, but they were not a guy to take the personal responsibility for anything, right? So he immediately suddenly drops. The easiest goes to the same well, over and over again. They see this over again. You used to be the favorite child, and now you're no longer the favorite child. There's a new favorite child. If the Sears Tower, and they are the Willis Tower or whatever, ganging up, the tower formerly known as the Sears Tower, right, was suddenly to collapse. But he's not a guy whatever to take for a lack of personal responsibility for anything, concrete or whatever. So he immediately drops. He would say the easiest goes to the same well, everything over and over again, because that's easy to go by. It's the police's fault. That's right. They always go to that. Well, the Willis Tower, no matter what, the tower formerly known as the Sears Tower, was suddenly to collapse. The job even for whatever for a lack of the diseased people out there trying to do the concrete or whatever. It suddenly to collapse. Agree with me? He would say it was the police's fault. You can only demonize someone everything so many times, the police's and fault. It goes back to the Beatitudes again. That's easy, and I'm not saying that's They always rejoice and be glad. Okay, well, blessed are you when no matter what, when people abuse you and persecute you and speak all kinds of calumny against you, the falsely, even on my account, difficult, right? For rejoice and be glad, reward people out there trying to do the best. You agree with me? See you back. We'll come back after the break. You can't demonize someone. Or Chief God of the Republic, and it goes back to the Beatitudes again. And I'm not saying we're talking about police, rejoice and be glad. Law enforcement. Blessed are you when people abuse you and persecute you and speak all kinds of calumny against you falsely is the state's on my account, right? Rejoice and be glad, reward will be great in heaven.
Has all
right.
No,
see you back. We'll come back after the break.
Their sole
More Chief God of the Republic
is to represent the people, but then ethically they'll tell you that they represent all people. Okay, so that technically includes an offender or the defendant, because you have to ensure that you're not railroading them. Otherwise, if you do that, in addition to maybe being charged criminally, you could have your license revoked. So they will tell you that they have no clients, they have only witnesses, and their sole duty is to represent the amorphous people. That would be the citizens and also the residents of the state. So the state's attorney is here to seek justice and to represent the people. They don't have a client, and they only have witnesses technically.
So when it comes to criminality or law enforcement, do they enforce feelings?
Are you dreaming of a getaway?
You
Want to leave the stress of daily life behind? Whether it's a relaxing cruise or an adventurous landscape, planning the perfect vacation doesn't have to be a hassle. At Cruises International, they specialize in vacation destinations, land and sea, making your dreams come true. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, Cruises International isn't just about booking travel. They're your personal concierge, trusted travel advisor, and advocate. Your preferences are unique, and they'll take the time to understand exactly what you're looking for. From personalized service to their global network of specialists, they ensure that your vacation is tailor-made just for you. Right. It's time to plan the vacation of a lifetime.
We got a job because it paid money, it had decent benefits, and we're decent people and everything.
That's 800-255-7447 today, and speak to a cruise and vacation expert.
Telling her boyfriend
it's time to
get lost because he's short and ugly, and he breaks down in tears, and I lock her up for hurting his feelings. And I write
Hi there, Tammy Scully here from Talk Time with Tammy and Friends. Join me and my sidekicks Nancy and Becky for valuable lifestyle tips and unique views and insights on interesting topics and everyday situations.
The state's attorney's not going to prosecute her feelings, are they?
For all. Get the scoop on consumer news, deep dive on current events, and learn about the newest economic trends, from exercise and gardening to music, travel, recipes, sports, pets, real estate, media, and everything in between. And it's all sprinkled with a healthy helping of bad dad jokes and interesting fun facts to boot.
I don't care what
Tune
anybody
in Mondays
feels
through Thursdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for a little fun, frolic, and infotainment. Join us, won't you?
Feelings, that's when you start getting into mob rule, and I don't.
When your car is making a strange noise,
prosecutions by
no matter what it is,
how many people are
you can't
for
just pretend
or
it's not
against.
happening.
I judge my thing by what the values of society are.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it.
I might take into account as I'm thinking what a rational jury
For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem,
and then what's the best way
Visit
to remediate it?
loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Station house adjustment is still in play. The old concept of other things, but generally, I'm going to bring it to protect society so that this one never happens again. If I could stop it.
What if society doesn't want to be protected anymore?
No, but I don't care. I don't care. My opinion of what society would be. So
share with us on WRMN's YouTube live channel.
I would, some people would say to me, well, I didn't want to come forward. And I said, okay.
Fix Bennett's comrades, we're back for the second quarter of the Chief Guardian Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tooman and Paul Burbitt here on WRMN1410.com. If you have some thoughts about this, please hit us up on the WRMN 1410 YouTube live channel chat.
Okay,
or
I care
on
about
our
making
call
sure
us in at
this doesn't happen
847-931-1410, or hit us up with the text from the Magic New Mexico 505-926-1410 number.
So that Paul, somebody thinks twice,
again,
even if
we're
they
talking
are
about police, law enforcement
or
as a disease.
That if they think that they're going to rob candy from a baby and maybe get 99 years from it, they're not going to rob candy from a baby state's anymore. Attorney. So that has really emotions and feelings are like their sole responsibility on the way is to represent the people.
Okay, so Paul,
but then ethically,
these laws that you prosecute,
they represent all people
for the good of society.
Okay. So that
how many of them did you
includes an offender
invent out of your head
or the defendant, because you have to ensure that you're not railroading them. Otherwise, if you
so these are made up by who?
In addition to maybe being charged, they're made up by the legislature
and their politicians
they will
elected,
tell you
right?
that they have no clients.
Paul,
they have only witnesses.
The only people allowed to vote in this country, right? The only people allowed to vote are law enforcement officers or prosecutors, right? No one else gets to vote.
And also the residents of the state. So the state's attorney is here to seek justice.
And we're outnumbered massively by the public, although I think that law enforcement officers
and they only have witnesses technically.
And prosecutors tend to vote in a higher percentage than criminality or law enforcement. We vote in a higher percentage than bus drivers. We vote in a higher percentage
you should
than
never
construction
let your
workers.
Feelings take
because we see a little bit of how these politicians affect our livelihood and our safety on the street.
And follow the law to the best of your ability.
When they're throwing this stuff at us, there's a law in the books, right?
To the best
that
of your
we enforce, right? That was made by the politicians. All right, so like if the politicians don't like that law being enforced, such as retail theft, one of us. They should go and take it off the books. And then they should watch all the businesses leave their jurisdiction and the training we received that made us leave their own. So we couldn't help it. What do you call it? We got a job because representative area at their district. Just pull out decent people because and everything. If they could just steal from me, why should I be here? And then watch the entire economy collapse. But telling her boyfriend they're not going to do that because these people also donate to their campaigns and everything. But then. If I lock up someone for hurting his feelings, I'm the one at fault because I caught him committing the crime. A complaint. Because without me catching him committing the crime, guess what? Saying that she hurt his feelings. No criminals. And I bring it to court, and the state's attorney sees this.
Just going to say something, and
the state's attorney's not going to prosecute her feelings, are they?
And I've said this before. Something happened somewhere about 60 years ago. I feel bad for the guy. And I'm going to just flat out put it on. We don't care about your feelings. We don't care. Actually, and that caused a lot of these problems. To be honest with you, when I told the story once before, and I don't care what anybody feels. So I was working when I'm sitting in court, and I didn't have lunch. I don't care. It was 3 o'clock. Because and the rule was if you didn't have lunch, it was 3 o'clock. That's when you start getting into mob rule. But my partner was having car trouble, and he took a cab there, and he asked me, was I going downtown? I said, no, I was really going to go home. How many people are for or against? But I said, I judged my thing. So he said, the values of society are as a whole. And I took him downtown, and since we were going downtown, now of course I used to park at a really extenuating circumstances, which almost by 11th and State into account in a condo building. I said, well, you know what? Normally I drop you off, but since the lateness of the hour, I don't. I'm going to walk in with you. The victim feels. I'm going to sign in, check my mail, and leave because I didn't have lunch. He said, I don't care what society. We're walking up. I only care about the law. If it was broken, is there an injury? And then, the street in front of City Hall to remediate it, as in. You know, they're and the old he had recently stationed house adjustment is still in play, and the very lovely woman of other things. Over there in the corner, they used to have that going to bring savings where the bell would change colors with the water. There was now a Walgreens. This one, and as we approached the Walgreens, if I could stop it.
What if society doesn't want to be protected?
He said, "Oh my God, my ex-girlfriend works across the street. I hope she doesn't see me because that would be bad." So at the time, there used to be Nick's Fish Place over there, but now it was a McDonald's. And it's by the First National Bank. Would say to me, which used to be Chase Bank, which was first because my dad, while a policeman, worked construction, and
but if
they
you
built
don't
come forward, but they have, the way you feel like right 6-inch squares. What happens if that happens to another and they tell you what's the city line and what's the property line, or God forbid Chase or First National Bank, right? So I really as we're getting closer, feel. Okay. There's like a full making sure this doesn't happen to another person, or that the person, it's a guy, serves as an example. Come to find out his by that I girlfriend mean or wife and his mother. So that somebody thinks twice, even if they are, and they're fighting. And it's like you're at a cage match. People, secretaries, they think that they're going to rob candy from a baby. And maybe get 99 years what from should it. I do? I said, they're not going to rob candy from a baby anymore. I had a briefcase and everything, and I always carried mace, emotions and feelings. So finally, the kid was able to subdue the bucket banger on the way. But he was kind of weak.
Okay, so Paul,
and it's sad.
These laws that you prosecute,
all
right, for the good of society.
I can't hold him, sit on his legs.
Invent out of your head.
I had my briefcase and I had mace out, and I was tempted if the bucket banger moved. I was going to
these are made up by who?
But then technically, I don't know how this started. I just know how it ended.
And they're politicians elected, right?
We hear
Paul. The only people allowed to vote in this country, right? The only people allowed to vote are law enforcement officers or prosecutors, right? No one else gets to vote.
There was a man in a suit.
Am I correct?
And he was security for the bank.
That's right.
And he helped the mother off,
massively by the public, although I think that law enforcement officers which promptly and really prosecutors made me mad. Tend to vote in a higher percentage than your average. And if you know anything about the First National Bank, they have buttresses. You vote in a higher percentage than bus drivers.
And I got my badge out. I got my briefcase.
Construction.
The first guy, to his credit, was the TAC lieutenant.
Because we see a little bit of how these politicians affect our livelihood
and I'm pointing here, and the guy sees me, and I can see him. He's swearing at me and everything.
Right. So
and he runs into
when they're throwing this stuff at us, there's a law in the books, right? That
and
we
he said, "Did you see this?"
Right?
I said,
"That was made by the politicians."
The full contact
if the politicians don't like that law being enforced, such as retail theft,
my partner,
then they should go and take it off the books, and then they should watch all the businesses leave their jurisdiction.
He goes, "Thanks for your help." And then I come to find out eventually that they let him go.
What do you call it? Representative area.
He threw somebody through the window at Marshall Field. Now, why I bring this up is,
if they could just steal from me, why should I be here?
I used to bring this up in class when I taught firearms. Because I said, it's better
they're not going to do that because these people also donate to their campaigns and everything. But then, if I lock up someone,
you actually have seen the whole thing. But I said you can participate in
because I caught him committing the crime.
Possibly,
because without me catching him committing the crime,
and
guess what?
One of the students who would remind you of Brandon Johnson said, you're just going to say something, a problem. And he goes, "You're the problem. Society for this. You should have minded your own business." Something happened. And you know what? I feel that's pervasive in a certain element in society. Just flat out put it. And I feel that's why society. Nobody snitches. But because I feel a lot of these problems.
Darn
when I told the story once before.
Snitches get stitches is the thing, right?
It's a true story. So I was
they
working
snitch on each other
at court,
all
and I
the
didn't
time,
have lunch,
just in
it was
different
3
ways.
o'clock.
They're constantly
and the rule
calling
was,
on their
if you
neighbors.
didn't have lunch, it was 3 o'clock. You could go home, and I was going to go home.
Right?
But my partner was having car trouble, and he took a cab there, and he asked me, was I going downtown? I said, no, I was really going to go home and have lunch and then stay home.
Because he was calmly dealing his dope on the corner when another gang came in, kicked the crap out of him, kicked him off his corner, and now they're selling dope there. And he wanted a battery report because they beat him up while he was selling his dope.
Almost by 11th and State.
Exactly what he said. I gave him the report.
I said, well, you know what? Normally I drop you off.
Here he is.
But since the lateness of the hour, I said, I'm going to walk in with you. I understand. And
I showed up on a scene where a pregnant woman is shot twice.
I didn't have lunch. He said, okay.
by some idiots that were just camping from half a block away. And I get there, first police officer there, I said, did anyone see this? Did anyone see what happened?
No.
Can I get a description?
In front of City Hall.
Which way did they go? What were they wearing? So we get them. The ambulance is on his way, right?
He had recently.
And I got a guy up in my face saying, "We ain't telling you nothing. You just do your job and find out who shot this woman."
Over there in the corner that used to have that Bell Federal Savings where the bell would change colors with the weather. There was now a Walgreens.
So here, a woman shot.
As we approached the Walgreens,
don't care. Not going to plead.
He said, "Oh my God,
I lost my drug corner.
Gotta call the police. Across the street. I hope she doesn't see me because that would be bad." You're dealing with this.
The police,
at the time, there used to be Nick's fish place over there, but now it was a McDonald's.
As an disease,
and it's by the First National Bank.
Let's say I had antibodies from the disease that Brandon says I had, right? That was caused by my swearing an oath to uphold the Constitution and the training that I received
like 6-inch squares
in the academy,
and they're brass. And they
so
tell
I have an
what's
immunity
the city
to that.
line
so I show up,
the property line.
The guy says, "Hey, I want to report it." I tell him, "Well, that's good for you."
And as we're getting closer,
and I drive away.
There's like a full contact brawl going on.
That's good.
Full contact
no crime occurred, right, Paul? Because it wasn't reported.
And it's a guy. With come to find out his girlfriend or wife and his mother. Right, and there's a bucket banger. That's my whole point. They're fighting. Like if they say it's like you're at a cage match. People, secretaries, everything. You say there's categories. I couldn't believe it. Like an alien. He goes, "What should I do?" I said, "Call the police." Mars is 16, and I had a briefcase and everything, and I always carried meds. Mongo is 5. So finally, the kid was able. You could tell the difference of them because one shaped like a plus sign and one shaped like a minus. It's sad because when you hear this, it sounds like a joke, and we know it was the guy shaped like the plus sign. Sit on his legs, but I had my briefcase and I had mace out. So there was tempted to look at the bucket banger movie. I was going to the minus sign, but then technically I don't know how this started. And for sure know how it ended. The minus sign guy didn't do it. So we hear. Because of their action, because of what they say, and they're coming down Madison. You have to do that. Plus, the fact is, there was a man in a suit. It would be so simpler to just identify security for the bank guy. But we don't do that. The mother and then what happens is, and then he told the offender a plus sign guy then, which probably really made me mad. And if you know anything about the First National Bank, they have buttresses.
Yes.
And it's impossible. And it's impossible because I got my briefcase. He's the first guy to his credit was the tag lieutenant. The guy that did it is not a minus sign guy. I'm showing him my badge. He is a plus sign guy. Pointing here, and the guy sees me, and I can see him. He's swearing at me and everything. And he runs into 3 First National to where me and the lieutenant grab him.
And I can't grab.
He said, "Did you see this?" I said, "I saw the
one is a plus sign, one's a minus sign."
I said, "There's my partner." I said, "I'm an attorney general. My partner,
the parent,
has got
the minus sign parent that I
victim, his girlfriend, and his mother." Goes, "Well, we know this guy."
Park.
He goes, "Thanks for your help." And then I come to find out eventually that they let him go, and then the next day he threw somebody through the window at Marshall Fields. Now, why I bring this up is. I used to bring this up in class when I taught
he's not giving up anything
because I said it's better to not get involved in a deadly force type of way unless you actually have seen the whole thing. But I said you can participate in the apprehension possibly,
hanging out with a plus sign.
Whatever.
The only reason you harassed him is because you're harassing this guy, and my son's just a victim of circumstance. I go, "Oh, really?" Did I put that paint on his finger, on his index finger and his thumb from where he was holding the can?
Your own business.
Did I?
And you know what? I feel that's pervasive in a certain element in society.
From the spray can.
And I feel that that's why
did they say
nobody snitches.
Did they say? They say they weren't spraying nothing, right? There was no paint. Did they say I made them spray a spray paint can? Go check snitches on snitches is the thing, right? And all of a sudden, right? The guy doesn't apologize to me, but oh my God, he wanted different ways. They're constantly calling on their neighbors. It was like he was a drug dealer, right? Drug dealer, admitted drug dealer. He deals drugs now, right? And this is the worst case. He wanted to report because he was calmly dealing his dough. A lot of times you don't want to make an arrest. When another gang came in, kicked the crap out of him. I know some guys busted for bucks because they would get court. And now they're selling dope there. And now they wanted to get notified for court because they beat him up while he was selling his dope. If you're not making money off court, exactly what he said. I gave him or anything. All right? It's annoying. Here he is. You got to bring the guy in. You got to write up an arrest report. You got to write up a case report. You got to write up complaints. A pregnant woman is shot twice, and then you got to process them, get them in, and everything. Inventory all this property, half a block away. Very annoying stuff that you don't see on TV. And I get there, first police officer there, and then I said, "Did anyone see this on you? Did anyone see what happened?" He said that you blinked too many times while you were arresting him. Which way did they go? What were they wearing? So we could get them. The ambulance is on its way, right? Supremacy or whatever. And I got a guy up in my face saying, "We ain't telling you nothing." Suddenly you just do your job and find out denying that you're involved with blinking code and everything else. Doing that, and then obviously 2 years down the line, you're taking a 3-day suspension. Right. So here, woman shot. And then, right? That's all right. That's all right. You can appeal that. All right. Oh my God! I lost my drug corner. I'm going to grieve this. Police. Which is more paperwork. You're dealing with this and more police, right? Now, so why even make an arrest anymore? If I showed up on the scene, because I'm diseased, you're demonized. Let's say when we get back, I had the antibodies. I want to talk about the disease that Brandon says I have. Difference between was caused by my swearing an oath, right, to uphold the Constitution. You grew up as a kid. I'm sure the training that I received. I'm sure you met the academy, right? And I know I have an immunity to that. Always excited. So I show up. I would always ask my dad. The guy says, "Hey, I want to report." Hey, do you know this guy? That's good for you. Do you work with this guy? He's got a very interesting name and everything, right? And they came to the school. Well, that's good. And no crime occurred. You were a kid, and you're like, here's a real person, and he's not scary. Right, that's what they want. You're not supposed to be afraid of them,
right? Because
you're supposed to be approachable.
That's my whole point. If they say that, let's just say
they don't have that at all.
Say
in
there's
fact, they
categories,
and out of the schools. They don't want, the schools won't even let you in. Right?
The planet
they were having
Mars
a riot at one of the schools. And all the police showed up, and they got security blocking the door. Oh, no, we'll handle this. Okay. I'm like, what do you mean
you can tell the difference.
This is the city of Chicago. This is the city of Chicago school. And I'm a sworn peace officer in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. Get out of my way before I lock you up.
And we know it was the guy shaped like the plus sign.
But they're the security guards at the school. And they, again, the petty tyrants, right?
And then they, so now
why did this riot happen in the school? From their lack of action, from their incompetence, whatever, but all the police were there to stop it.
And for sure, the minus sign guy didn't do it.
Why?
Okay. But
all right, so when we get back, we're going to talk about that mystery person that me and Paul both know because we met him in grammar school.
You have to do that. Plus, the fact is,
apparently,
it would be so simpler
they should have
just
had a funeral for him
identify
with high
the plus sign guy.
And
we don't do that.
And
then what happens is,
should have a funeral for this guy.
Whenever a plus sign guy then gets picked up, okay, they're going to say, you put a case on him. And it's impossible. It's impossible because he's the guy that, the guy that did it is not a minus sign guy. He is a plus sign guy.
Okay, so Paul, I'm on the street, patrolman, right? And I catch these two kids tagging underneath the expressway. They're tagging, right? And I go to the chief guard of the Republic. One is a plus sign, one's a minus sign. And there'll be links on cgr.silink.net to get there. I call the parent, so the minus sign parent that I get. I'm trying to figure out what a good cure would be. They're from Hyde Park. I'm just thinking of a social experiment. The university. All right. So what you do is you have a special election by the precinct. His father, right? All right.
Yeah.
And the plus sign kid, no one's answering. He's not giving up anything. But I think maybe precincts would be better. But then you'd have to realign the police district. So the father comes in, and he is giving me specifically hell that I put a case on his son because he was hanging out with a plus sign. As we all know, the city's divided up into precincts and hanging out with a plus sign. Each ward has so many precincts. The only reason you harassed him is because you're harassing this guy. The city also has my son's just a victim of circumstance. I go, known as police districts. Well, did I put that paint on his index finger and his thumb from where he was holding the can? The 23rd district, they eliminated the 21st district. Paint there. So they still have 22 from the spray can. 25.
Did I make them spray it? Did they 13th say that?
District, which was combined with
they say they weren't spraying nothing, right?
Combined with the 12th district.
All right, did they say I made them spray it? Spray can. Go check your son's hand.
They over the time,
and all of a sudden, right?
They've changed
the guy doesn't apologize to me, but oh my God, he wanted to kill.
I propose that you have a special election.
It was like he was.
Where people are allowed to cast their vote,
right?
Whether they want diseased
what
people.
What they're doing now, right?
And
this is the worst case,
all right? So all the people get to vote. And if more people vote peacemakers, then
a lot of time you don't want to make
an arrest. Police no-go
it's annoying
in that area.
I know some guys busted for bucks because they would get court time.
Citizens,
but now they don't even get notified for court.
So why even make an arrest, right? If you don't take care of their own problem, sort of like a COVID
you're not going to court for overtime or anything.
So we don't want the police infecting us with.
You got to bring the guy in
and a hunger for righteousness.
You got to write up an arrest report.
So that's what
you got to write up a case report.
And they say
you got to write
up
no
police area there.
And then you got to
now
process
you
them,
get them in and everything,
inventory all this properties,
people.
This very annoying
and send them
you don't
to
see
the
on
other
TV.
Diseased people.
Very annoying.
Yes.
And then he beats on
these
you
diseased
people.
He said that you blinked too many times while you were
working in my district,
and that's code
in my
some sort of supremacy or whatever,
keeping
me safe.
IED takes the beef, and suddenly you're right
because
I'm
also diseased,
denying
and I
that
need
you're
more help.
involved with
because I have a
code and everything else,
and then
I don't want to see
down
any
the line
you're taking a
3-day
outside my front door.
And then,
so you
that's
have the special
election.
You can appeal that.
And then you just put no-go areas.
You go to your union and you say,
how long do you think those areas would
last before they were...
Which is
more paperwork and more time and more annoyance. So why even make an arrest anymore?
Not real long.
Because
not real long.
if you do,
the
junkies won't even go in there to buy their dope anymore. I want to talk about, although junkies are probably
the difference between
most I grew up as a kid, right?
Even though they're
you grew up as a kid, I'm sure you met this guy
in the ghetto.
I'm sure you met him.
If you had if we had a caste system,
I know I met him, and
which
we
were always
do.
excited,
and I would always ask my dad
the Constitution.
You probably asked your dad too. Hey, do you know this guy? Do you work with this guy? He's got a very interesting name and everything, right?
The absolute lowest form.
They came to the schools.
The worst, right?
You were a kid, and you're like, here's a real person.
They're protected,
and he's going into the ghetto,
into these crime-ridden areas.
And you're not supposed to be afraid of them.
They buy dope,
and that's
the
approachable to them
for the dealer. So you don't mess with a junkie, because he's going to bring you back.
They don't
$10, $20.
In fact, they
once, twice, 3 times a day, at least once a day.
The schools won't even let you in.
$10.
They were having a riot at one of the schools,
and all the police showed up, and they got security blocking the door.
Oh no, we'll handle this.
$70 a week.
What do you mean handle it? This is the city of Chicago.
So this is the city of Chicago school.
They let them walk in.
Peace officer in the state of Illinois and city of Chicago.
Get out of my way before I lock you up.
If you kill them on the way out, right? Or whatever,
they're not going to come back and buy
guards at the school.
They're dead.
And
the petty tyrants. They're kind of a protected class there.
Why did this riot happen in the school?
From their lack of action, from their incompetence, whatever. But all the police were there to stop it. You're going to see that you're going to be outvoted by people who don't care about you or anything else.
All right, so when we get back, we're going to talk about that
mystery person
and the money that's rolling in from
Paul both
their
relatives
we met them in
grammar school,
bringing maybe some scraps of money into them.
Disappeared off the face of the map.
So
they should have had a funeral for them
with high honors. If the diseased people come in and stop them,
now they don't have the disposable income that they had before.
You're right.
So you're the problem. No one's forcing these junkies to buy the dope, except the terrible addiction. And yeah, addiction is a problem. It's a big problem. How do you stop addiction? There's only one way to stop addiction, Paul. Other than death. If you can't get it, you can't get addicted to it, can you? If you can't get heroin, if there's no heroin around, zero heroin.
Want to read some action-packed,
you're not a chemist and you can't make
read the works of Michael Tuman, now
methadone,
their international
or you can't
crime
make
thriller.
Fentanyl,
I Married a Bot Madam.
Synthetic
Available
heroin,
on Amazon and hardcover,
you can't
paperback,
make that stuff,
and Kindle editions.
and you can't get
paperback
heroin.
Is also available
you can't
at
be
other book
addicted to
retailers.
it. You
Check
have to
out
leave
Michael
the
Tuman's
area
webpage
to get addicted to it.
Silink.net.
So that's the cure for addiction
Sierra
right
Yankee, Lima, India, November,
if you're an addict to it and it's available to you,
November, Echo, Tango.
You have to have
co-hosts
real
Mike Tooman and Paul Burgett on our weekly radio hour, Chief Guard of the Republic, where we talk about all things national security, defense, personal security, safety, and dealing with law enforcement situations. Call in 847-931-1410. Ask us questions. We will get you answers.
Is a disease. There's addictions of many forms, right?
On 1410 AM
and the one cure, I'll give you the cure for it.
Streaming on WRMN1410.com. Chat with us on WRMN's YouTube live channel.
Substance that people are addicted to.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410.
Poppies in the United States?
1 o'clock.
No.
The United States isn't too conducive to growing that stuff. I mean, we got hydroponic pot farms, right? Why couldn't we have hydroponic poppy farms? Because it's really labor intensive once a year. You only harvest the stuff once a year, and then you got to not only harvest the raw opium, you got to process it into heroin, right? Whereas pot, you just cut the buds off before they go to seed. You get rid of all the male plants, only leave the female plants in there, and then cut the buds off because they're constantly trying to bud to go to seed, but they can't go to seed because there's no male plants in there cross-pollinating them, right? And then you just harvest that stuff and sell it. And it's constantly. It's a constant thing. It's every day. It's not a once-a-year harvest. Right? So you stop that stuff at the border, boop, that addiction's gone. There's no heroin, you can't get addicted to heroin. If it's no food, you're going to starve. You're going to die. All right? So what I'm saying is, if you take all the diseased, righteous people out that hunger and thirst, much like addiction for righteousness, and you make that area a total non-righteous area, you've cured that disease in that area. Now you don't have to worry about it. So there you go, Brandon. There's your cure.
The primary effect of these brutal green energy
Take all the police out of the areas of the people that don't want them there.
But to redistribute
Pull them all out. Don't give them any more police service.
Developed countries that follow the
if you get a 911 call, go, I'm sorry, you're in a no police service area.
Countries that break the rules.
Now, that violates one of the constitutional amendments, however.
The United Nations. More on these stories.
How long would it take a judge to put an injunction on that one?
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS.
Probably put that on there immediately.
Afraid, to be scared, and they try to
violates
frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax relief advocates is different.
Under the law, right?
TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the
14th Amendment as it applies to the states.
Are now available.
Well, it's going to take someone smarter than me, though, in constitutional law. I figured it out at the end after talking through it. I'm like, well, that would be unconstitutional.
Reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
But you know what? Politicians have done things blatantly unconstitutional with impunity all the time.
Online at TRA.com or call 800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141.
Judges make rulings they know are blatantly unconstitutional.
Real solutions for real people.
Just to delay stuff, just to cause problems, just to be political.
The Federal Reserve's favored inflation
so why couldn't Brandon
slightly in August compared to a year ago.
The Commerce Department reports that its personal consumption expenditures price index was up 2.7% in August from a year earlier.
God bless
up from a 2.6% year-over-year increase in July,
the city of Chicago,
the most since February.
All the public servants
excluding volatile food and energy prices, so-called
and with the good
PCE
heart
inflation
and honest intentions,
showed a 2.9 increase in prices from August
I'm not saying do a lot of their job.
Same as in
just
July.
Do your
the
job.
Increases were what forecasters had expected.
Just the bare minimum.
John Scott reporting.
And it pays less and less
I've seen a lot of people out there
flip a home.
That won't do the
typical
job.
home flipping
and become
profit
petty
margin
dictators,
fell in the second quarter to its lowest level since
by not doing their job,
with a
by
typical
demanding,
return of 25.1%
tithing and
before expenses. That's according
not
to
tithing,
analysis
but,
at Adam, a real estate data company.
They're getting paid
Breaking
already.
news at Town Hall.
But they expect you to go in there and pay them additional tribute to have them
The
do the job
Transportation
that they're already
Department
getting
will
paid.
immediately tighten up the requirements for
How many people have seen that?
non-citizens to get commercial
I've seen
driver's
it in the
licenses
Army.
after 3 fatal
Seen it in the
crashes
Army,
this
dude.
year in
This is your
Florida,
job. But you
Texas,
want me to kiss your
and
ass to make you
Alabama.
do your job.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
This is a license to operate a massive 80,000-pound
that's supposed to be here on the 3-second delay
to
going.
foreign drivers who are not U.S. citizens
I think it's okay.
or lawful permanent residents. The process for issuing these licenses is absolutely
Paul,
100%
do you have a
broken.
cure or solution?
Australian scientists have tested bite-resistant
Well, common
wetsuits.
sense would be
And
the
they
best
did by letting
cure,
sharks
but
bite them in
obviously
the
we
open
don't
ocean.
have
The
it.
study shows the
So,
suits
you
can
know,
help
it's
keep
just
swimmers safe.
really sad.
Researchers
I mean,
at Flinders
it's really
University
sad.
tested
I
four
mean, you know,
materials
when you
and found they
see
all
this,
reduce damage from
and it's
shark
disheartening
bites, but they
because
say no matter what
you
kind
know
of suit you wear, you still need to show caution around the sharks. More from townhall.com.
We took a course this week on
At Britain's Touchless Car Wash, they know life gets busy.
And
That's why
it was
they're here
sponsored by
24/7 to keep your car looking
Homeland Security. It
spotless,
was a 3-hour
fast,
course
and
that
easy.
we took.
Their advanced
And,
brush-free
it was
wash
very
technology
interesting.
delivers a
Well,
sparkling
they're
clean
using a
without a
phrase
single
that
scratch.
we haven't
because
used
they
in
treat
a long
your car
time.
like it's their own.
It's called
Here's the best
nihilism.
part. Right now, you can get a free
what
car wash
nihilists do
just
is
for
they
joining
want
their
to
text
destroy
club.
everything.
It's simple. Just
They want
text
no order
BRITT
and
to
because in
30400,
no order
and your
they're
first wash
important
is
and
on
stuff
them.
like that.
Britain's Touchless Car Wash has two convenient locations, 1923 Larkin Avenue in Elgin and 555 Willow in West Dundee.
You know, they're
proud to keep your
protecting their
car clean
community,
while giving back to
but
our
they're
community.
doing more
Text
to hurt their
BRITT
community.
to
They don't do it in their
30400.
community.
That's BRITT
They come downtown to the city to do it.
30400.
They come from the
Now for
suburbs.
your
They come
free
from
car wash.
Winnetka.
And see
They
why
come
Britain's
from, you know,
Touchless Car Wash is the fast,
They
gentle,
come
and reliable
out from
choice.
the entitled areas, the nice suburbs and everything where, you know, they lived in a bubble, and then they come downtown to cause their trouble. They're not protecting their communities. They comrades were back for the second half of the Chief Guard of the Republic they know better than everyone else, and they're protecting about that the communities that won't protect themselves. The long forgotten, but not forgotten.
The problem
long unseen,
they're
but not forgotten
facilitating
by.
it. There's members of the
I guess
community
the baby
that are
boomers.
facilitating.
I'm one of the last of the baby boomers. Because they would never let these idiots into their own neighborhood. And if they saw 3 of those guys walking down, what do you think his name is? They don't have the junky look about them. They're not heroin chic. Yes, officer friendly. They see these guys walking through their neighborhood, and they he would beat them to death and rob them. The dude always was like, period. Everything was shiny. But I'm on your side. You're oppressed. Yes, I'm oppressed because I want the money. They must have had a makeup artist or some guy that watch. I want the shoes you wear. Always look the best. You know, you just didn't get. Yeah, they're your typical old-time broken coppers. Here's a hasn't polished his shoes in months. You know, so the nihilists, the handle of his gun is being held on by rubber bands. Anti-fascists, which are actually fascists by definition, by their own. And what they had a great fascism is state. They didn't have to deal. State controls the means of production. They didn't have to deal with the angry private ownership of the means of production. So dangerous. I say that. The stinky public have private ownership, and you could be a multi-billionaire. But I'm going to tell you when and what to make. You got to go into controlled environment, everything else. Little kids. Kind of fascism. And let me tell you, National Socialism, we go in kind of the same thing, right? Socialism, the state owns everything, and no one could be rich to the Schiller Park schools, except for the politicians. And we talk when it comes to Veterans Day and Memorial Day, and you're talking about escape from New York and escape from LA and these dystopian futures like Mad Max. And when we go in there, and you know, he's living in the wilderness, and he's the biggest. Like he walks through the valley of death, and he has no fear because he's the biggest, baddest guy in the valley. Right? We're veterans, right? And they all think, you know, that they're going to be that guy. They don't care that they're going to be that warlord. That's glamorized and escape from New York. They're going to be the guy driving hats and everything with the pretty clean cut, you know, lights on it and everything. Nice to the kids. And everyone's going to be afraid of them. Their eyes are big, and they're going to be in charge. And that's why it's so great to be nihilist for us, because the man won't be there to keep them down. The politicians won't be there to keep them down. No one will be there to keep them down. If all these things go away, I'll be in charge because I'm smarter. So I could understand a little bit of that feeling. And you go in there, and back in my day, be dog food. Both of us don't realize high respect for the police because they'll be fodder for the cannibals, right? or they'll be slaves,
and all the other kids they're like jealous. Oh, your dad's a police officer,
or someone's, you know, my dad's only a fireman. You don't
can't
see
think
fireman
of the right
friendly
word
coming into the schools.
other than servants.
But the thing was,
someone's
you didn't want kids to be afraid of the police, to be terrified of the police, or to have the police be villains, or to have the police be us and them against the police, because they won't be the guy in charge. Their friends none of them missing. You're going to want to talk to these kids to find out where the kid went or something.
Or the
kid's going to have some information. If the kid's in trouble, if his family's in trouble, if he sees something bad going down, you want him to come to you because you're respected and he knows you're going to do something about it. That you're going to take positive action, immediate positive action.
No one in charge, nihilistic. The people in charge of Black Lives Matter.
I want to give a shout out to the Oakland police yesterday. There was a young girl, that was missing, and they went and they got her within a short amount of time.
They would be the base of the totem pole.
I'd like to give credit to the fantastic police department in Oakland and all the officers in Oakland who did a tremendous job on returning this little girl.
They used the system to get the money to buy themselves a mansion away from the people that are oppressed.
So that everybody know on the reverse thing that she was found.
Because I'm the same as you are.
Because that's what it truly is about. There's no disease.
They'll be the first one's gone.
Yep, okay.
Listen, they put out the Amber Alert. What's the first thing you do to the press and the press is revolution? The press, when you send out those things, they have
government and all their
they
family.
have to, and they hate it. No, they hate it that the police are telling them to do something, and they have to do it
your own
because it's a little kid gone missing.
Purge the guys most likely
Otherwise,
to
they tell pound
sand.
sand. We ain't going to do it. Prove it. We don't have to.
Not the guys.
But
if
anything happens to that little kid, because people like little kids,
the only ones them that are left are the ones that collaborated with
the family. Who did they call first when their kid was missing?
Guys underneath you that got you to where you are, and you end them.
The community activists.
And now things are great.
No, they called the police.
It's going to be the way you want it.
The police,
because no one is left that's going to take you out.
This is why because you won. Kind of also why I brought this
up. Are the people that put you there?
This was on Ring,
and you just got rid of them.
And some guy,
the communists did that. They started taking out their own people that brought them in because they're like,
watch out.
Yeah, you were on our side, but you're likely to go against us. So goodbye.
They're looking for a little girl who's missing.
So that's
you're telling people to watch out.
And a lot of these people suddenly wake up.
So what do you mean I'm not in charge? I've seen something. Won't come and tell the police, hey, there's a little kid walking over there. I got all the Black Lives Matter bling
of that guy.
I got all the swag.
It's the bent of Brandon Johnson.
I got all designer clothes that see BLM. I got all the designer stuff that says Antifa.
And they got nothing else.
So and they go to the well. Why am I not in charge?
They got one trick, and they're beating the horse to death.
You're not a complete psychopathic sociopath.
Yeah. I had
already has.
I got called out on a plan.
Organization supporting.
A plan is when they bring all the police cars in because the gangs
got to do something immediately.
Immediate positive action, right? And the little kid was missing, and the family swore that they searched the house.
Instead of being
the police officers went in and said, "Yeah." The family said they searched the house. They're not there.
Instead of being under the oppression of the U.S. Constitution,
I'm going to search the house first
before I do anything else.
And I go in
under the
and I open the closet,
and
there she is asleep under a pile of laundry.
Number one gang leader, right?
But the family searched the whole house,
and we know that they
now, police could have been all over the place. We could have been looking for everything else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right.
So, and we know that they're fair to
a little bit more experience.
But the police come equal
and take immediate positive action.
Equal protection,
positive action to quell a riot.
Hey,
positive action.
You're not the only one.
There's other gangs there,
right?
Positive action.
So then you have a balkanization, right?
With the little kids,
there's no longer the United States. There's different gangs fighting for territory.
But they're not the 5-year-old, right? Because they're just oppressed people acting out because the police have always been vilified in his home and had free public education
everywhere else.
I'll tell you what, and he gets lost. So the public education
because he's never been off this block. He made a wrong turn. He followed his buddies. His buddies
in charge of the union
of all those teachers.
Didn't have a bike or whatever. Now he's lost. He doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah,
and he sees all these police around. What does he do? Are the police officers in the classrooms in the school teaching these kids how to read and write? What does he do?
No.
When he sees all the police, does he come out and say, "Police officer's job.
Take me home."
He has a month
to teach all the first graders, guys, right? The entire alphabet. So being vilifying are putting these kids in danger. 5 days a week, us puts everyone in danger, but more so it puts the police in danger. Right? So 40, 160 hours. I feel for these guys getting on the job. I mean, oh my God. 20 kids to sing the ABCs. They vilified you. You're worse than the Joker and from Batman. None of them could sing the ABCs. Batman's the good guy because the police are incompetent. He fired. Right? You'd be wondering, what were you doing? Right? How come these kids can't? The Joker's out there, they making the police look like they can't even sing it, right? Sesame Street sings it. It's television teaches them in a half hour. 10,000 versus the 9 and 10. Teaches them. You're supposed to have a master's degree in education, and you can't teach them the ABCs. No one's coming to you because you're a bad guy. You only do bad things. Every cop is dirty. Right. Every cop is because they're oppressed by the police. The only reason you became the police was because you could steal from the public. Because you're a bad teacher. That's right. Legally, right? And bad administrators in the school. Why risk? I'm sure there's teachers in there that really want to teach. You're making good money, and then one kid goes crying to his mama. Not really good money. All right. That they didn't get an A because they don't even know what an A is.
You're making a decent living.
And then mama screams at the principal. A middle-class living. A lower middle class living if you got a couple kids, right? And you're sending them to private school, right? All right, so making kind of a lower middle class living, right? Chief Guard of the Republic. You're risk adverse because hopefully I'll be cured of the disease by then, or there'll be an apology. You don't want to steal. What do you think? Because you're going to lose your job and you won't be able to take care of your family anymore. No, you won't be able to get another job by the FOP. Chances. There's so much scrutiny. I mean, none. Okay. You have to pass a drug test. See you next week. Thank you to all the listeners. All this stuff that the politicians don't even pass. You have to take these ethics things, ethics training. And then you get vilified because maybe there were 1 or 2 coppers that were a little screwed up. But you know what's funny? The ones that are the most screwed up, all right? They've been getting away for it for years because they're politically connected. And they've been covered for years. Suddenly, their political connection, their clout, is dead or declouded or not there anymore. They have no high cover. And someone comes back and gets them. And now everything comes out that this guy was dirty for years. Oh, code of silence amongst the police department. No. Code of silence amongst the clout. They take care of their own there. But it's that one person that vilifies everyone else. And then they go back and vilify. And I saw the stuff going down, and that's why I retired. I retired earlier than I had to, way earlier than I had to, because I could see myself with my personality, with my thirst for righteousness, my hunger and thirst for righteousness, locking people up. And you know what? The crimes I investigated, child abuse cases. Child abuse. Who doesn't want to lock someone up that abuses children? I'll tell you who. Other child abusers. Right? But I'm locking up child abusers, and I'm still catching hell for it because people don't like being arrested. And when I figured that you can't even do that work without getting harassed by politicians who are going to vilify you, right? So that they could get a vote or so that they could hold it over someone else. All right. Look, and I covered you with that nasty detective that was getting ready to throw you in prison for breaking 5 ribs on that baby. I covered for you. Now you owe me. The disease was strong in me, Paul. Very strong.
I think it is.
I should sue the city.
Yeah. Well,
I think we should all sue the city.
You're facing an uphill battle.
You know what? What I'm surprised about is that the FOP, on behalf of the police officers and their bargaining unit members, because they're not a union, right, on behalf of them, has not personally sued Brandon Johnson for vilifying the police and putting their lives at risk, more risk than they need to be.
You know, I've always been surprised at that myself. I've always faulted the FOP for that. I mean, you know, it's a great organization.
No, it isn't.
But and I'll tell you something else though. I also object to the way they treat disabled officers. They're not fighting for them. They're not, you know, they're not in there. They're not, you know, with the amount of dues that gets paid and everything, and they have a cadre of lawyers they deal with. They should be intervening more in these actions that they make these people jump through hoops when they're clearly disabled, and they make them keep coming back and keep coming back.
Only the ones that are not politically connected.
Right, that's true.
All right.
And then you see the ones that are doing the tarpon fishing, and they're in better shape than I am, but, you know, because they know somebody, they never have to come back, you know?
Yeah, it's or they come back as president of the FOP.
Right.
All right. And it's, if you're a member of the FOP and you disagree with me, call up. But they will, they have it's a give and take with the city. All right. And they go, well, you know, we really like this guy. And, you know, he got in a little trouble here, and they go to the city. They go, listen, can you just kind of back off on this guy because he's a good guy? And the city goes, yeah, well, you got to give us 3. So some guy comes in that messed up a parking ticket or swore at someone when they spit in his face or something. And the FOP's like, yeah, we're not going to help you on that one, or we're going to help you. Not, you know, we'll help you, but it's not really helping. And they give the city theirs. And then, you know, it's a trade-off, who you know and everything else. When it comes to being right, you know, being in the right or being in the wrong, you could be more predictive with the magic 8 ball than you could with the FOP in the city. You could be assured if someone's politically connected to the right people that nothing's going to happen to them until their clout goes. So they vilify us, but again, all right, where's the cure? What's the cure, Mr. Brandon Johnson, Mr. President of the Teachers Union and now Mayor of the City of Chicago? If the police are a disease, what's your cure? Please detail it. And why are you holding out on us? Why are you holding out? If you know it's a disease, then you know you have a cure, right? How do you spot the diseased people? Oh, well, they're all swore an oath. Well, so did you. Well, they were trained at the academy. Well, he wasn't, so maybe you have to swear an oath and be trained at the academy. Now, when was the last time you heard him vilify the fire department?
Well, I know that there's an issue going on that some of the houses don't have the required men, and I know they're incurring a huge OSHA violation every day because they don't have the proper thing, and they can't, even if there's a call, they have to wait till another guy comes. So frequently it's a bugle officer that has to come, so they have enough guys. So I mean, he might not be vilifying them, but he's also going down the same path with them too.
Underfunding them, because you know what? There were guys that sat on that list for 10 years before they got hired. We had kids out of high school. You're supposed to be 21. Out of high school, they took the test. You know, they lied about their age on the test, said they were 21 when they were really 18. But by the time they got hired, they were 28 years old because they were on that list. Because, you know, everyone wanted to be a fireman. And they were, you know, if to get hired on the fire department, no, that was the greatest thing, right? So why aren't people want to be firemen anymore? or the city's just holding back on hiring them. Then who's the problem there? If you have a building burnt down.
What the problem is they diverted the money to the same people that were in the gangs, as we started the show out with, that the governor gave awards to that were criminals. They diverted the money to community groups that wear yellow vests and allegedly escort people and are interpreters for the gangs or stuff like that, instead of using the money where it's needed for police and fire and ambulance service. So they diverted the money so that they could, in my opinion, what they're doing is they're just giving show and no-show jobs to gang members and criminals,
It's patronage.
Right.
It's a new form of patronage, right? And you create a socialized need, and then you fund it. Where do you fund it from? From the people that don't vote for you. You take that away, because once you're in the city. Now, here's the thing. Crime, right? Law enforcement is a disease. That's why we have crime, right? Well,
yeah.
Firefighting is a disease. That's why we have arson.
Right.
So we just had a 12 flat on the west side burned down again.
Right.
Are they blaming the fire department on that? Hey, you could have got there quicker and saved the building. Nope. But, a bunch of people are getting shot and the police don't show up.
Well, you could extrapolate this out. This is what scares me, to where it comes to the point where the firemen just come and burn your books, if you get my drift. Yeah. So that to me, that's what everybody says the model is for the future with these people, that the police are a disease and the firemen come and burn down what doesn't please them. And it's really a dystopian universe.
Fahrenheit 451.
That's correct. And it's so where, our firemen bring the fire with them, that we don't have to, because knowledge against the state is what, or speaking out against the state is, and that's, you're seeing this every day. I mean, you're seeing this every day. It's ridiculous. I don't want to get too far off the topic though, but I'm seeing this
very in dystopian.
I see this in our suburb, to where I had a conversation at a party yesterday for one of my relatives, and one of my relatives said something, that with the ICE enforcement or something like that, they all they were was like dragged a little bit. And I said to him, I said, well, I said, when I was a state's attorney, I said, I knew a police officer and all he did was get his pinky broken. But I said, you want to know something? That's aggravated battery, and that's aggravated battery on a public way. And those are all felonies. So I said, if it were me and I was that guy, I would have shot the guy too. And you break the law, there's consequences, okay? But people try to rationalize things. And what I find really sad? The last week, you see there's some big politicians that went to this place where ICE is, and they're ginning up the crowd. One of them's running for Congress. Two of them are running for Senate. And this goes to an old theory that I had, okay? There was a guy who was allegedly one of the Burge defendants, and Burge wasn't even around that day. And this is why I don't like him. A former president of the United States from Chicago went to visit the killer, a convicted killer.
Who killed two police officers in cold blood.
No, this was another case that I had. And you want to know something? And so did Charles Thomas, and so did Oprah Winfrey and stuff like that. And I don't remember them coming to see any kid that was sick. I don't remember them seeing. Anyway, the guy actually pled guilty again when I had the case. But it's kind of sad, where they're forcing a narrative that's a lie, okay, and or a half truth, and then they're not telling the whole story. And that's exactly what's happening in the suburbs.
It's a lie by omission. All right. Come back for the last quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show here on 1410 AM.
With a little flair. It's Dino's Night Out, every Friday from 2 to 4 p.m. on WRMN 1410 AM. Dino brings you the best of the Fox Valley's entertainment scene. Live music, local artists, street festivals, great eats, and the personalities behind them. If it's happening, Dino's talking about it. And bringing the spotlight is none other than the legendary Arcada Theater, located at 105 East Main Street in St. Charles. Catch dinner, drinks, and a show, all under one historic roof. So whether you're making plans or just love to know what's hot, make it a date with Dino's Night Out, Fridays, 2 to 4 p.m. on WRMN 1410 AM, or stream it live at WRMN1410.com. Dino's Night Out, powered by the Arcada Theater, where Fox Valley comes to play.
Tune in to Big Top Sports with Derek Geyer every weeknight from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
He'll have sports thoughts from the center ring of Chicagoland and to the outer rings from across the nation.
Weather from Chicago Cubs,
White Sox, Bulls,
Bears,
Blackhawks,
Stars,
Fire,
Boomers,
whatever the national story is of the day. Geyer and his sports czar takes will either have you nodding in agreement,
yelling at the radio,
or in all honesty,
a bit of both.
With the way the Chicagoland sports and sports are in general, there's bound to be
thrills,
chills, and
oh my God moments.
So get your snacks and libations ready,
because this is going to be a wild ride.
Big Top Sports with Derek Geyer's quirky and insightful Fanatics take
will make you feel a little
or a lot better about your Chicagoland sports viewing experiences.
Tune in to Big Top Sports with Derek Geyer every weeknight from 6 p.m.
to 8 p.m.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Stop settling for weak sound. It's time to level up your game and bring the boom. Hit the town with the ultra-durable LG X Boom portable speaker and enjoy vibrant sound wherever you go. Elevate your listening experience to new heights because, let's be real, your music deserves it. The future of sound is now with LG X Boom. And for a limited time, save 25% at LG.com with code FALL25. Bring the boom. X Boom.
Now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com is the book called DUI Jury Trial, which is the true story of a truck driver in Illinois who was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol. Not only was he facing a revocation of his driver's license, but also a lifetime disqualification of his CDL, which would prevent him from ever driving a semi-truck again. This book includes backstories of the truck driver, the lawyers that defended the case, and the DUI expert expert witness who analyzed the case and then testified at trial as to the proper protocol procedures of the field sobriety tests as well as the breathalyzer test. This nonfiction novel also includes the actual court transcript from the jury trial, a courtroom showdown in which the final verdict would determine the fate of the defendant's livelihood. The book DUI Jury Trial is now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Fix Banett's comrades, we're back here with the Chief Guard of the Republic radio shout-out show for veterans and law enforcement and everyone else there that has something to say about our law enforcement, our national defense, our anything related personal safety and public safety. We're on 1410 AM WRMN. You could watch us on the WRMN 1410's YouTube channel, or you could see us at 1410WRMN.com. Go to the website there. There's a link for listening to us live on your cell phone or on your computer or on your, what is that, Amazon Smart Box or whatever, Siri or whatever. Get that stuff up there. Or, it'll have a link to the YouTube channel. And as always, after the show, hopefully before Thursday, usually I'm doing it Thursday night. But I will take and I will cut out the commercials and I will re-upload this to the Chief Guard of the Republic YouTube channel. And there'll be links on cgr.silink.net to get there. All right, Paul. So I'm trying to figure out what a good cure would be. And I'm just thinking of a social experiment. All right. So what you do is you have a special election by the precincts. All right, or by the districts, the police districts. But I think maybe precincts would be better. But then you'd have to realign the police districts. So, okay, let's do it by districts and specifically by sectors and by beat. So the city, as we all know, the city's divided up into precincts and wards, right? Each ward has so many precincts, precinct captains keep check of everything. But the city also has law enforcement boundaries known as police districts. So it has 22. They eliminated the 23rd district. They eliminated the 21st district. So they still have 22, 25. They eliminated 13th district, which has been combined with the 12th district. All right, so they still have the 14th district. So they over the time, they've changed the boundaries a little bit. All right, so I propose that you have a special election, all right, where people are allowed to cast their vote whether they want diseased people in their district. All right, so all the people get to vote. And if more people vote no, then you put a police no-go in that area, that the police won't go into that area, that the citizens on diseased citizens can take care of their own problems, sort of like a COVID lockdown, right? So we don't want the police infecting us with a thirst and a hunger for righteousness, right? So that's what the people say, and they say it's a no-go police area there. So now you could take those extra forces of diseased people and send them to the other diseased people that vote yes. I want these diseased people who hunger and thirst for righteousness working in my district, in my beat, on my beat, keeping me safe, right? Because I'm also diseased and I need more help. Because I have a hunger and thirst for righteousness. I don't want to see any unrighteousness outside my front door. So you have the special election, and then you just put no-go areas. How long do you think those areas would last before they were screaming for diseased people back there? At least some of them.
Not real long. Not real long.
Yeah. The junkies won't even go in there to buy their dope anymore.
Right.
Although junkies are probably the most protected, even though they're like the lowest form of life in the ghetto, if we had a caste system in the United States, which we do, it's just not written into the Constitution, but there is an unwritten caste system. The lowest form is a needle junkie. That's the absolute lowest form. Needle junkies, the worst, right? They're protected going into the ghetto, into these crime-ridden areas, because they buy dope, and that's money for the dealer. So you don't mess with a junkie, because he's going to bring you back that $10, $20 once, twice, 3 times a day, at least once a day. He's going to bring you $10. You kill him, and you just cut your profit margin, by $70 a week, at least. Right? So they're protected. They let them walk in, they sell them the dope, they leave. Yeah, you sold them dope once, but if you kill them on the way out, right, or whatever, they're not going to come back and buy dope because they're dead. So they're kind of a protected class there. The other people buying that stuff, but the rest of it, you're just a decent person. You're going to see that you're going to be outvoted by people who don't care about you or anything else. They care about themselves and the money that's rolling in from their relatives who are dealing dope, who are bringing maybe some scraps of money into them, right? So if you stop them, if the diseased people come in and stop them, now they don't have the disposable income that they had before. So you're the problem. No one's forcing these junkies to buy the dope except the terrible addiction. And yeah, addiction is a problem. It's a big problem. How do you stop addiction? There's only one way to stop addiction, Paul. Other than death. If you can't get it, you can't get addicted to it, can you? If you can't get heroin, if there's no heroin around, 0 heroin, and you're not a chemist and you can't make methadone, or you can't make fentanyl, right? Synthetic heroin, right? If you can't make that stuff and you can't get heroin, you can't be addicted to it. You have to leave the area to get addicted to it. So that's the cure for addiction right there. If you're an addict to it and it's available to you, you have to have real powerful friends to fight those demons. All right? Is it a disease? Yes. Do you agree with that, Paul?
I do.
So addiction is a disease. There's addictions of many forms, right? And the one cure, I'll give you the cure for it, is to stop, to get rid of the substance that people are addicted to. So you stop it at the border. Do we grow poppies in the United States that you know of, Paul?
No.
The United States isn't too conducive to growing that stuff. I mean, we got hydroponic pot farms, right? Why couldn't we have hydroponic poppy farms? Because it's really labor intensive once a year. You only harvest the stuff once a year, and then you got to not only harvest the raw opium, you got to process it into heroin, right? Whereas pot, you just cut the buds off before they go to seed. You get rid of all the male plants, only leave the female plants in there, and then cut the buds off because they're constantly trying to bud to go to seed, but they can't go to seed because there's no male plants in there cross-pollinating them, right? And then you just harvest that stuff and sell it. And it's constantly. It's a constant thing. It's every day. It's not a once-a-year harvest. Right? So you stop that stuff at the border, boop, that addiction's gone. There's no heroin, you can't get addicted to heroin. If it's no food, you're going to starve. You're going to die. All right? So what I'm saying is, if you take all the diseased, righteous people out that hunger and thirst, much like addiction for righteousness, and you make that area a total non-righteous area, you've cured that disease in that area. Now you don't have to worry about it. So there you go, Brandon. There's your cure. Take all the police out of the areas of the people that don't want them there. Pull them all out. Don't give them any more police service. If you get a 911 call, go, I'm sorry, you're in a no police service area. Is that, now that violates one of the constitutional amendments, however. How long would it take a judge to put an injunction on that one?
Oh, they'd probably put that on there immediately.
Yeah, because it violates the equal protection under the law, right?
It does.
Yeah, so I guess there is no cure for that.
And as it applies to the states, so it would be like the first, 5th, 4th, 10th, and I think it's the 14th Amendment as it applies to the states.
Well, it's going to take someone smarter than me, though in constitutional law. I figured it out at the end after talking through it. I'm like, well, that would be unconstitutional.
Yep.
But you know what? Politicians have done things blatantly unconstitutional with impunity all the time.
They do it all the time, and they know it, yet they're doing it.
Yeah. Judges make rulings they know are blatantly unconstitutional. Just to delay stuff, just to cause problems, just to be political. So why couldn't Brandon do it?
He could. And he does.
God bless all the city servants of the city of Chicago, all the public servants that actually go out there and with a good heart and honest intentions do their job. I'm not saying do a lot of their job, just do your job. You know, just the bare minimum and do it. Because I've seen a lot of people out there that won't do the job and become petty dictators, petty tyrants by not doing their job, by demanding tithing and what do you call it? Not tithing, but tribute. They're getting paid already, but they expect you to go in there and pay them additional tribute to have them do the job that they're already getting paid to do. How many people have seen that? I've seen it in the Army. Seen it in the Army, dude. This is your job, but you want me to kiss your ass to make you do your job. Oh, I'm sorry. I said a bad word. Does that? And that's supposed to be here on the 3-second delay going beep.
I think it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, Paul, what do you have a cure or solution?
Well, common sense would be the best cure, but obviously we don't have it. So, you know, it's just really sad. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, you know, when you see this, and it's disheartening because, you know, it's you know, there's, you know, we took a course this week on they call them on threat assessment. And it was sponsored by the Homeland Security. It was a 3-hour course that we took. And it was very interesting. But they're using a phrase that we haven't used in a long time. It's called nihilism. And what nihilists do is they want to destroy everything. They want no order, and because in no order they're important and stuff like that. And what these leftists are doing are they're acting like you know, they're protecting their community, but they're doing more to hurt their community.
They don't do it in their community. They come downtown to the city to do it. They come from the suburbs. They come from Winnetka. They come from, you know, they come out from the entitled areas, the nice suburbs and everything where, you know, they lived in a bubble, and then they come downtown to cause their trouble. They're not protecting their communities. They think that because they're better than everyone else, because they know better than everyone else, they're protecting the communities that, quote, won't protect themselves.
Well, but the problem is they're facilitating it. There's members of the community that are facilitating it.
Yes. because they would never let these idiots into their own neighborhood.
Right.
If they saw 3 of those guys walking down, they don't have the junkie look about them. They're not heroin chic. They see these guys walking through their neighborhood, and they will beat them to death and rob them. Period. But I'm on your side. You're oppressed. Yes, I'm oppressed because I want the money in your wallet. I want that watch. I want the shoes you're wearing. Yeah, they're. So here's a truism here. All right. So the nihilists, these fascist guys, these anti-fascists, which are actually fascists by definition, by their own what they do. Well, fascism is state, where the state controls the means of production via private ownership of the means of production. So I say that Louis can have private ownership and you could be a multi-billionaire, but I'm going to tell you when and what to make, right? Who to hire and everything else. It's kind of fascism. National socialism, kind of the same thing, right? Socialism, the state owns everything and no one could be rich or whatever except for the politicians. But when it comes to nihilism, and you're talking about Escape from New York and Escape from LA and these dystopian futures like Mad Max out there, and he's living in the wilderness and he's the biggest. He walks through the valley of death and he has no fear because he's the biggest, baddest guy in the valley, right? And they all think that they're going to be that guy, that they're going to be that warlord that's glamorized in Escape from New York. They're going to be the guy driving that Cadillac with the with the lights on it and everything. And everyone's going to be afraid of them, right? And they're going to be in charge. And that's why it's so great to be nihilist, because the man won't be there to keep them down. The politicians won't be there to keep them down. No one will be there to keep them down. If all these things go away, I'll be in charge because I'm smarter and I could set it up like that. And they'll all be dog food. They don't realize it. They'll be fodder for the cannibals. Or they'll be slaves, or they'll be someone's toady or someone's, can't think of the right word for it other than servants. They'll be someone's personal servant, On the golf course, I think they call them ball washers, because all they do is wash the balls on the golf course. They won't be the guy in charge because none of them have the sure brutality that it would take. Or the predisposed organization, right? The people in charge of Black Lives Matter, if it went totally dystopian, right? Totally chaotic out there, chaos, right? No one in charge, nihilistic. The people in charge of Black Lives Matter, where would they be on the social totem pole?
They'd be at the bottom.
They'd be buried. They'd be dead. They would be the base of the totem pole, the squishy, dead base of the totem pole, because they use the system to protect themselves. They use the system to get the money to buy themselves a mansion away from the people that are oppressed. And then they say, well, I feel you because I'm the same as you are. So let it go dystopian. They'll be the first ones gone. What's the first thing you do after a revolution?
You purge the former government and all their family.
No. You demobilize your own forces and you purge the guys most likely to counter-revolution you. Not the guys that you already kicked the shit out of. Because the only ones of them that are left are the ones that collaborated with you. You take the guys underneath you that got you to where you are, and you end them. And now things are great because it's going to be the way you want it, because no one is left that's going to take you out, because the only people capable, because you won, are the people that put you there, and you just got rid of them. The communists did that. They started taking out their own people that brought them in, because they're like, yeah, you were on our side, but you're likely to go against us, so goodbye. So that's, let it go dystopian. And a lot of these people suddenly wake up. What do you mean I'm not in charge? I'm so cute. Look at me. I got all the Black Lives Matter bling. I got all the swag, right? I got all the designer clothes that see BLM. I got all the designer stuff that says Antifa, right? I look so cool. Why am I not in charge? Because you're not a complete psychopathic sociopath that already has an established organization supporting you. That's where the gangs take over, because they already got that established organization. Right? And so instead of being under the oppression of the U.S. Constitution, in quotes, oppression of the U.S. Constitution, you'll be under the free and liberal policies of the number one gang leader, right? And we know that they always give everyone a fair trial.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we know that they're fair to everyone.
A lot of equal protections there.
Yeah, a lot of equal protection, And then, hey, you're not the only one. There's other gangs there. So then you have a balkanization, right, of the dystopian. There's no longer the United States. There's different gangs fighting for territory. But they're not the problem, right? Because they're just oppressed people acting out because they've been oppressed for years.
Right.
They've had free public education. And I'll tell you what. All right. So the public education has failed them. Right? Who was in charge of that union of all those teachers that failed them as a public education? Brandon.
The disease thrower, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not diseased. Are the police officers in the classrooms in the school teaching these kids how to read and write?
No.
So if it was a police officer's job that he has a month to teach all the first graders the entire alphabet. He has 1 month. He has 5 days a week, right? For 4 weeks, let's just say 20 days, right? 160 hours to teach 20 kids to sing the ABCs. And he didn't do it. None of them could sing the ABCs. Be fired, right? You'd be wondering, what were you doing? How come these kids can't write the ABCs? How come they can't even sing it? And Sesame Street sings it. Television teaches them in a half hour. A cartoon teaches them. You're supposed to have a master's degree in education, and you can't teach them the ABCs or the times tables. Is it because they're oppressed by the police?
No, it's because you're a bad teacher.
That's right. And bad administrators of the school. I'm sure there's teachers in there that really want to teach, right? And then one kid goes crying to his mama that they didn't get an A because they don't even know what an A is. And then mama screams at the principal, right? And the principal screams at you, right? All right, so next week, Chief Guard of the Republic. Hopefully I'll be cured of the disease by then, or there'll be an apology. What do you think the chances of apology?
None.
No. Further action by the FOP, chances?
None.
Okay. All right. See you next week. Thank you to all the listeners. Bye.
nearly 50 years, the DuPage Senior Citizens